All right, welcome back to the Tool World Podcast. I'm your host, David Ju, and I'm here with Master Ju.
How's it going, Mr. Ju?
It's going pretty well.
Pretty good.
Don't forget that we're coming up to our Tool 2 seminar. That's going to be early February. So
Chon-Ji through Won-Hyo or Yogo. One of the two.
But regardless, check the link below. Check out our website, and you guys can get a little bit more details on that.
And the question might be, do I have to do Tool 1? Well, no, but Tool 1 is really about the basics on how to develop power, some of the fundamentals, and then we work on the patterns.
Right.
But
right.
a lot of it is still in there, and I have to just rehash that.
Right. Anyways, kind of had this question in class a couple weeks back, and it's talking about questions. It's talking about techniques.
Students should not have questions. Just say,
get a lot of questions.
Shut up and just do what I say.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at like techniques such as the front back fist strike or the circular block. And so this is actually one technique, but it's almost like two techniques. So for example, with the front back fist strike, yes, you could just have the opponent straight in front, but sometimes in the application you see one behind and then one in front.
Correct.
Right, and so that would be movements 11 and 31 in gate back.
Right.
And then you also have the circular block where you could be blocking two opponents. That's a block from one front snap kick, let's say, and a punch. So it's a mid-side block. And so that's two techniques almost in one. And so there's a couple of things that I had kind of some questions about. Like, let's just primarily focus in on the front back fist strike. Would you breathe out for both of them?
Right. That's a good question, actually. So when we talk about the front back fist strike, that's attacking to philtrum.
Right. So
it's straight in front, right? And that also leads to another question, because since you brought this one up, because there's different front back fist strikes, like the ones where you jump up and you do the front back fist strike. You don't have this movement where you do basically two applications. So the primary application for a back fist strike is straight in front to the philtrum, but there can be a secondary application that's striking behind you, again, striking the philtrum. So it's straight back and then straight forward. So like you were talking about in gate back, it is performed in that way. It's performed behind you and one in front, but the attack is actually in front in that particular pattern. It's kind of like a back fist strike in pole one, right? You have a back fist strike, so you don't go 1, 2. It's
just
straight
pull
back.
Straight back. Right.
So that's a back fist strike, basically to C, right? So in gate back, though, it might be basically to D and C, or actually C and D. Well, no, that's not correct, because you're off the line at CD, right? I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
So the primary is the one directly in front. There can be a secondary application, and that's someone behind you and someone in front of you. So you have to perform the technique as if it is two application, even though there might be one person in front of you. And do you breathe out on both? I would say no, because it's not. Well, no one actually does it.
Right.
No one actually breathes out 2 times, even though it's 2 applications. Like, and is it 1 sine wave or 2 sine wave?
Yeah, that's the next question, right?
And so that, to me, is going to be just 1 sine wave, and it's 1 application. It's 1 breath control. So it's not a connecting. It's not fast.
I see.
That's interesting too to talk about that, because it's never indicated that it is performed in a fast motion or continuous or connecting motion, right?
Right.
It's just a regular motion.
Well, that's interesting, because when you look at like Moon Moo, we do a back fist strike and then a front back fist strike.
Right.
And so that is the same movement,
but it's broken
2
down.
movements, right? So is that fast or is that regular?
That's regular to me.
Okay. But you do breathe out 2 times on that one.
Right, because it's regular. It's a back fist strike to, let's say, C, and a back fist strike to D, right? But in gate back, it's a front back fist strike, let's say, to D. It's really 1 application, but you perform it as if it's 1 behind you, 1 in front. So it's 1, 2, right? The real power is really straight in front.
So let's break it down into even smaller portions. When we're doing the back fist strike to C, usually we cross our hands, correct? And it's on the bottom.
Right.
And it comes back, right? And then when we do like the front back fist strike forward, we just bring it forward and bring the other hand in. So if my opponent was just primarily in front of me, so there's no one behind me, would I have to cross my hands to pull it back and forward, or can I just go straight back and go forward?
So like in Moo Moo.
Yeah, Moon Moo, where are you? So you did a high twisting kick, and then you go. Well, you do the back fist strike, so you'd cross the hands, correct?
Right. You go one, and then
you go.
The other one, you don't cross, it just comes straight. The reaction hand comes back underneath the other arm.
Right.
So why do hands cross? It's because of the reaction hand technique. It has to be equal, right?
But if I was only striking to somebody in front of me, then I would not necessarily have to cross the hand. Is that correct? Because there's nobody behind me, so would I just bring the hand up and then forward? Or do I always follow the same intermediate position?
I would always follow the same intermediate position. So like if you only did a front back fist strike and it says that the hand is on the side fist, such as Eom, then you don't do that. You just bring it up and it comes straight forward with the palm on the side fist.
Right.
So you don't have this 1-2 back fist, but that's a front back fist strike, right? Your question is, let's say I was in a sitting stance, I'm doing a front back fist strike. The hands come up and they cross because that's that intermediate position for those movements, right? And so are you whipping it back and forward at the same time? I think you do, but the primary speed has to be to the front. In other words, the one to the back, if I was striking someone to the back, I'd have to accelerate, and it's almost like a stop. But remember, when we strike something, it has to be 1 inch deep to the target, whether it's a block or whether it's striking. So if I was striking someone behind me, I've got to go 1 inch deep and then 1 inch deep forward as well. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the sine wave. And so you said it's just one.
Well, like in Gay Beck,
Right.
It's just one. What about in Moo Moo?
Well, you're shifting. You're shifting backwards when you
Right. So that's your sine wave there. And then if you did a front one, then you'd have another sine wave.
Oh, okay. Right. So let's say you're in Gay Beck and it actually broken into 2 movements. Then you would break it down and execute 2 sine waves?
Yes, I would do that. If it was broken down.
Right.
Like 1, 2. But that's not the case, right?
Yes,
it's
that's
just
correct.
Movement number, I don't remember what the movement, let's say movement number 1, front back fist strike. How do you perform it? It's back and then forward.
Right.
Right?
All right, so next week we're going to cover over the circular block, and we're continuing on the 2 techniques in 1.
2 techniques
in 1. And as always, don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Take 1.